Mhm. All right, all right. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Tracey Noriega, and I'm here paying it forward to you on Power to the Peeps. And PEEPS stands for Positive, Extraordinary, Everyday People Stories. And I have an
I love that.
extraordinary person here, Michele Charles Gustafson. Is that correct?
Gustafson. I
Gustaf.
married in Gustafson. It's Swedish. Yes.
I
Gus,
like it.
yeah, Gustafson. Gustafson. Yeah. I know, it's fine.
Well, I'm sure he's used to the cold weather then there in, right? Probably a vacation for him. Well, Michele, I met you through a great friend, Leanna, that we have in common. And she just was so ecstatic about the book that you wrote, being one of your tester readers out. She just told me, oh, you know what, Tracey, you have to have her on your show to speak about this book. And it would just so happen to be that I've been having lots of conversations, and in my entrepreneur groups, we were talking about confidence. And in fact, the lady who runs our group, Jen Kem, actually made a thing called Confidently Club, and it would just come up over and over again. So it was sort of like universe just like brought you here to talk about this book that you decided to write at the beginning of the year, and here
Yes.
it's already published on the
7 months.
Yeah.
7 months is what it was. And it was when things are ready, they're ready, and including people, ideas, purposes, missions, whatever. Um, I think sometimes people get used to pushing things to happen, but really what happens is things get ready and then you meet that being ready, and then that you take that preparation and it happens. And 7 months, like
Yeah.
in January, I was not doing this, and all of a sudden it's here. So I'm so excited.
What happened in you? Because I'm sure it had something to do with this great year that we've been all having, 2020.
2020. The book was something that was a seed for a while. It,
Mhm.
it was a seed for about 2 years. I think if I go back in my good journals, it's always been a seed. Ideas had been floated around. I remember even making some outlines, but nothing stuck. And I think, life happened,
Hmm.
and it was actually about the week before everything got shut down that I wrote the outline. And there was something in me that said, get it down. And it was really about not necessarily that the world had changed, but that I was changing. And I talk about this in the book, in that whatever you're going through, whatever's happening in your life, there it's almost like puzzle pieces inside you that are getting shifted around. And what happened is that COVID was actually just the opening opportunity for the shifts that were already happening in me. So it gave me space to say, oh, you just have space now to put what's already going on in you down. And part of being confident in who you are and having self-assuredness that moves you forward is to know that you're listening for that, and then to listen to it. Right.
Mhm.
And so I heard it as a whisper, and I was like, let me begin. And so I started to hone in on my creative process. How was I going to get this out? How was I going to get it down? And then it just became a tidal wave. And
Mhm.
I wrote the first draft in 28 days. I was like, how did that even happen?
Wow.
Draft
Wow.
one, 28 days done. I'm like, who does that? I don't know. Maybe people do that. Maybe people do that.
I was gonna
I
say there
I
are, you channeled it, obviously, it just came to you, you know?
and you know
Mhm.
what? And when the vessel's ready, right? I was
Mhm.
ready. And
Mhm.
so the message came through, which
Yeah.
which was awesome. Yeah.
Well, you brought up a great thing, that whisper, because in your
Mm.
book, those of you who haven't read it, and I'm 85% through, but I love that about the lessons, because I've always talked about, life is always giving you lessons, and it's not one and done. It's never one and done.
No.
It's like it comes back. And I've always looked at it sort of like a video game, right? So if we took,
Yes.
and I know I'm dating myself here,
Nope.
Donkey
I
Kong.
feel you.
But the whole thing was to get up, right, and save the princess. And first, it's just barrels. It's just barrels and it's just jumping over them. And then, you want to get her. And then it's barrels on fire, and then there are barrels throwing down you. I mean, and they just keep coming more and more. And I feel like that's life, right? So there's this lesson you got to learn, you pass it, and then it just keeps going up. And I love the advice that your mom gave you, because it'll start as a whisper, then it'll be a message, then it becomes a problem if you're not addressing it. And then sooner or later, there's a disaster.
Yes. And she always said, Michele, catch it at a whisper. And the more you learn to be in tune with what you're seeing life as a lesson, the faster you can catch it. And I remember specific times in my life where, stuff is going on. It's, what am I supposed to know here? And it's just like the video game. It's like, okay, level 9 is asking me, like, what is the secret trick of the level 9? If I can get it at a whisper, I know I'm going to pass the level. And I think what's important for people is that to understand that as you're passing it, you're developing character for the next step. So, and not to look at it as pain, but to look at it as growth, right? If I can learn this lesson now, it's going to prepare me. And I always say, like, you're being prepared for a success you cannot see. You can't yet see. So by learning it, it's like, I know I'm coming to my next step. So let me just catch it quick. And let me do the thing that's hard, because the answer is usually something that is out of your comfort zone. You probably didn't feel like you wanted to do. You've probably been avoiding. But if I can learn it, then the blessing's right behind it. And also, I'm ready for the next step. I'm prepared for the next step. Yeah.
Well, I think you hit on something too, which is the fact that, they are lessons and they're there for our growth. And that's that, that saying, whether you've heard it or not, or heard it 10,000 times, that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And it's like really that life asking you to grow, to step up so you can get to that next part. But so many times we fall victim to the circumstances and look at things like that, like it's happening to us, and not really realizing it's happening for us,
Yes.
And another part of your book I really loved, and this is what I'll say to all of you, like, who, just to read it, because it's just definitely been like bam, bam, bam on everything, is right now everyone is in transition. And you speak a lot about transitions, because there's the change, like the event. I mean, and you can take this whole year has been a
One
huge event.
big event.
After the other, like ones nobody could have ever come up in their wildest, like, let me imagine something, like no one. But the transition is really our response to it. And, you point out the areas where we have these transitions, relationships, jobs, career, your role, whether, and so a lot of people are caretakers right now, or having to be, homeschoolers as well, right? Your health, and then major losses and gains. And that is this whole year, like left, right, center. So like you even talk about, if you have one going on, that's already enough. And then you have multiple going on, there's that. So what do you have to say to people about that, with your confidence and all of it?
Well, and the thing, like, it's crazy. I mean, I would talk to my clients and women and tell them that, this book pre-2020, what you're going to have, 2 or 3 transitions happening every decade. Excuse me. We've had 2 to 3 transitions happening every month, right? In every area of our life priorities, we have had a change, and now the transition is the pieces that are the decisions you're making that happen next. And when you're going through a transition, you're looking to see and realign values that you hold, and then to act upon them. And I think what's happened in 2020 is that there have been so many changes, events, and then transitions that follow. Nobody's had a chance or has sat down to go, what does this mean for my values of how I live? And I've encouraged my clients, my communities, people, to have a chance to sit down and go, what are the most important values I am choosing to live by? Because it will make you help you make decisions about how you do any of this going forward and what you choose to do after this. It also helps you understand, to give you meaning around what's happening instead of just going, oh my gosh, this is just one more thing, right? Finding the meaning is actually where you find the resilience. It's where you find the ability to bounce back because you can see perspective around what has happened for you, not just to you, right? So it really is all about putting perspective around it. And when you do that, and when you see value in your perspective, there comes the opportunity to find new confidence. Confidence doesn't just show up. It doesn't just happen. It happens because you have a perspective about who you are in what you're doing and why that's important for yourself and for others in that meaningful outcome piece. But without that perspective first, the confidence can't show up. So when people say to me, you know what, I've lost my confidence, or, you know, I really have a problem with my confidence, or I can't seem to feel confident, you're missing the first part. You're missing the part about self and really that definition and that clarity about renewing the self piece, right? And then pulling that through to energize it and move it forward. So yeah, 2020 has been the ultimate test. And, you know, maybe, you know, I don't believe that there's a coincidence in anything. And the book was a seed for 2 years. I know that I was meant to bring the book now because so many people are needing the thing that says, how do I just redefine? How do I see all of these shifts in perspective for myself? And I know it's no accident that it's here at this moment. So I'm so
we
happy
could
to
all
bring it.
use some definite confidence in what's going on with everything, because it really shakes you to your core
Yes.
too. And everything's ripped out. And, you know, I've watched, you know, friends, family, you know, people in my different communities that I'm part of, like, you know, where you thought you had some security, where you thought you had it all figured out and that you could rely on that, and now your business is gone, or
Yes.
you know, your income's gone, or now you know, just everything in your house is just in disarray because now you have more people in it. You know, I've heard about so many other people who've had to take other family in, and now you're all in it together, literally, right? So
Literally.
when you were talking about that self, are you referring to, I know in your book you have the pyramid with self-worth, courage, compassion, discipline. Is that referring to a bit of what you're speaking here?
Those are the lessons that the self is learning.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, after a transition, you're going to learn one of those or all of them. And you'll start, like, the first lesson in any area of your life is going to be the self-worth lesson. How do I feel about myself around my career? How do I feel about myself around my health? What do I feel I deserve? And once you figure out the lesson at each of those levels, you get to bump up, right? Level up. My kid's a gamer. You'll level up. And so it'll be then what am I courageous about doing with my health, with my career? And so if you look at the lessons and the whispered lessons that are happening, and if you can figure out what you're trying to learn, you will make new choices based on that. So if you've been afraid to start a business up to now, and it's now COVID, and maybe you have lost your income or lost what you've regularly done, is that a whisper that says you deserve what you've always wanted? But you're going to need courage in order to do that. You're going to have to give yourself some grace and compassion. You're going to have to see others in a different way to do it. And then do you have the discipline to do it? And so as you understand the area of your life that you want to change, and you can see the lesson around it, I'm not saying that it's easy to make the choices to learn the lesson, but if you can get there, you grow and all sorts of new possibilities open up. And that's really where the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the confidence grows, because at each lesson you learn, you go, yeah, I did that. And I talk about it in the book, you know, one of my favorite things to tell my clients and people around me is that confidence comes from finishing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come from doing. Okay. Mm-hmm. It comes from finishing, because when you finish something, you've learned something. there's no win or lose. There's only a lot. There's only a learn. So if something worked well, great. What did I learn there? Did I learn about my self-worth? Did I learn about my courage? Did I learn about my compassion? Did I learn about my discipline? What did I learn?
Mm-hmm.
And if it failed, and I am putting that in quotes, what did I learn about myself, about what's outside me, about my discipline, and what can I use next? So yeah, I think what people want to focus on is not, I want to be more confident, but it is, what am I finishing so that I can learn something?
Mm-hmm. That's a good perspective, because, you know, the other part of it is too, and I think we have such a bad rap with failure. I think it's a bad choice of words, and it just has such a connotation with it, because it's, you know, I've heard it put in different ways, like whether it's you're collecting data, you know, like if we you know, take Thomas Edison, which they love to do, because it's like thousands of attempts. Like, who would have stayed doing that if you know, I mean, that showed his tenacity too. And I know I can do this, but him even saying, well, I've found this many thousands of ways in which it's not going to work. But we don't really find that empowerment in that.
Yes.
Of, you know, I think that's another perspective of the way we look at it, that we must achieve what we were looking to do, and not realize that in our attempts to do that, we're finding out the ways that it's not going to work.
Well, and I talk about that in the book, in that you have to understand what your actual definition of success is.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when people say, well, I failed or I won or whatever, you're defining it in a way that most times has to do with the outside world, not you, right? Whether it's a badge, an accolade, a trophy, a title, or whatever. It's like, that's how you know you either won or lost. But I encourage people to look at their own definition of success, because a lot of times it actually has nothing to do with that. Yeah. Right. And that if you can be so clear about what your definition is, it actually doesn't matter what the outside world told you. Right. If your definition was to impact someone, to help change their behavior, to help you know, be an example to others. Okay, you can win, and the outside world will never tell you that you won, but you did. You know you won. That's the seed of real confidence, is understanding that when you are exercising your meaningful outcome, and you attract that definition of success, that's where the confidence seems to come from. We don't know what, like, why is she so like that? It's because you're creating something that comes from really inside, right? And I think people, you know, in the world, and and I forget whatever chapter it was, but I talk about the world thinks that the success is like all of these things, all the money and the followers and the stuff, and how big you look somewhere. And that's great. Yeah. But there's a lot of sad looking, really successful people out there. They haven't figured out what the personal definition is, or it got away from them. Here's a chance, an opportunity, COVID or not, 2020 or not, to look at what yours really is, and stick into it, and then make decisions from it. You'll make decisions in a whole new way from there.
Yeah, no, I read that chapter, and it made me think of, there's and I can't remember who said it, but I had read it in a Bob Proctor, you know, kind of course, and it was talking about success is just making the gradual progression in the direction in which you decide you want to go. So it's like, if I'm making those little baby steps towards that, then I am successful. Then I'm going there. I'm getting there. And that is my success. Versus, yeah, did I hit, you know, X amount of followers?
And you know what? And there's nothing wrong with metrics. Like, I think, you know, some people are like,
you have to measure.
So I'm not, like I can't measure, and it's, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you own that. Right. You can own that that's a portion or a measure of how you are doing the other definitions of success. Like, I talk about 6 of them. It can be a measure of one of those things, but one of the definitions of success isn't followers, or isn't clout, or isn't, like, right? So it's a measure of something larger. And I think that's what you want to stay focused on, is what is the larger meaning of why I'm doing this. And the words of confidence and success, they're big words with these definitions that people kind of, I don't really know what that means, like success. It really is about you defining what is important for you to have as an outcome more than anything. What is your outcome of your life? What are you doing that when you're dust, you're okay with, right? That drives what the success means to you, right? So
Yeah.
right now it's a perfect opportunity to redefine that, renew that and energize that.
Well, I think all of 2020 is that lesson, right? That we need to redefine and
Yeah.
like everything. I mean, that's why, in my opinion, everything's falling apart because it all needs to be
Reset.
yeah. I'll need to decide what is the definition for me on this? What does it actually mean for me? And that's a great point with the success, like how you even broke it up into the six, because people tend to, I mean, and that's a personal choice, like you had money beyond it, and then recognition. But there's also the parts of, well, I want to be an example to others. That's my definition of success. Or my be my own boss. There are the people who just I want to be there. So I think that's really tied to how you even went to redefine, and if you want to speak about that, how you went to redefine purpose as meaning your meaningful outcome, because you were touching on that. So
Yeah. I mean, your meaningful outcome isn't your job title.
mhm,
It isn't what we do for whatever role we're playing. It is deeper than that. And it's really about what produces a lasting income or lasting transformation for people, right? What do you leave with people? What helps foster confidence in other people? Where do you find joy? Like those are the things that become your legacy, right?
mhm,
And I always say that legacy lives in those you change.
yeah,
So it doesn't mean that you have to be known, famous, whatever, right?
right.
Sparkly. If you've defined how you live your life by what is a meaningful outcome you give to people, you live in them, whoever
Mhm,
it is you touch. You'll touch some, you'll touch a lot, but you can leave the planet knowing that what you were here to do meant something to those you changed. And that, I mean, I feel like that's what people are after, right?
yeah,
Yet
yeah.
don't know how to get after. And so they're doing all these things to get after that very simple thing, which is to say, I made a difference, right?
Mhm.
Well, you get to define what that difference is.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think, that's another great reason to buy your book, because if people are looking for that, and I'm going to pick up on your confidence compass, right? How do we find the way? How do we find the way there?
Yeah.
And I think, well, okay, people get, I think, too overwhelmed when they talk about purpose. It's like, oh my God. And, I was just in a workshop a couple weekends ago where it was exactly what you were saying. It was like, it doesn't have to be, I mean, not that it's not great to be a Gandhi or a Saint Teresa, right? But it's like what you said, you could just be in your community. You could just even be in your family,
Your family. What
change
is
your
your
family
meaningful outcome?
dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had lots of clients and, women, especially, well, I'm just a mom. Like,
That's
excuse
huge.
me,
Yeah.
excuse me, back
Mhm.
up the truck. First of all, you are not your title. You are not your role. So first of all, people have to figure that part out. It
Mhm.
is not the job title that you are is who you are. You are a person playing a role. Okay. So understanding what the person is and what is important for them to offer as a meaningful outcome, then you just do that in your role.
Yeah.
Okay. So moms mom differently. You're not the same mom as I would be. What's my meaningful outcome as a mom? It's going to be different, but just as valuable.
Yeah.
But in order to do that as as a as a thing that makes an impression that lasts on a children, on your community, on your family, you gotta be clear about what that is,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Well, and you
What
gotta be present, right? You gotta be all of
and
you
and
there.
and presence
Mhm.
presence takes clarity. You
Mhm.
can't be present if you're not clear about what you're being present for,
Mhm.
right? I have a daughter, it's dedicated to her,
Mhm.
and you know I say to her that my job as her mother is to teach her as many skills
Mm-hmm.
as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's my outcome.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if I'm telling her to load the dishwasher or rake the leaves. I'm teaching you skills no matter what, right? That's my meaningful outcome as a mother. It also happens to be one of my meaningful outcomes as a coach, as a mentor, right? Skills and frameworks, that's what I do. So it doesn't matter what I'm teaching, that's part of my meaningful outcome. Permanent change skills. So it doesn't matter if it's her loading the dishwasher or you came in late and so there's consequences or whatever. I'm teaching the same thing, right? So remember that role is not the thing. It is what's the meaning behind the role that you're playing.
I like that, the meaning, yeah. And how you, again, the meaningful outcome being happiness, transformation, confidence, and joy. And you are doing that in that. I mean, I love that you said that about with your daughter, because with, we have our nephew we're raising, and I tell him that all the time. I'm like, hey, as a parent, I feel like my job and responsibility to you is to give you the real life skills. Like, and he always wants the shortcut. And I'm like, I'm giving you the cheat sheet. I'm like, I'm trying to give you the cheat sheet to life, man. It's like, if you would learn these things, it'll save you a lot of like pain
and
figuring it out.
We're human. So humans want, not that we want shortcuts, we want to be efficient, right? So we want, I would have to know that, that's just human nature, right? But and kids, just by themselves.
I was going to say, and then, now I sound like an old person, right? But it's like, in this generation, right? But we all want instant gratification, but now they can't even listen to, anything without fast forwarding it 10 times. It's like, you're not going to listen to the song. It's just like,
no, attentions are short. Attentions are short. And I think when attentions get short, the perspective is lost. So you lose what you're supposed to learn here. What am I supposed to know here? What is important here? And I think this time in our lives is a chance to slow down.
Oh yeah. Mother Earth has given us all a big timeout.
Slow down and go back inside, right? That's where it starts for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think your book does that. And I'm going to, again, just encourage everyone. It is about that inward journey, about going back in. And yes, we can get all, sucked in by the outside world and what is going on out there. But it's also a reflection of what's going on in here. And, right now, everything that's going on is that reflection. So I've said lots of times, if we just clean up our own mess, think if everybody cleaned up their own mess and took responsibility for their own energy and their own, what you're putting out and what you're putting in, sometimes you need to turn off that TV and the social media, and claim like, you shall not pass.
You just said my favorite. Okay, Gandalf is my favorite. How did you know that?
You said that about the elf thing too when I said
Gandalf.
Yes.
Love it.
You
shall not pass.
But then on the other side, I love when she goes, if you want it, come and claim it.
Okay, we just nerd out there just one moment.
We did. I'm more of a Star Wars nerd, so if you want to talk about that, I'm getting really excited about the Mandalorian, And I didn't want to like Baby Yoda, but somehow,
Love you love what you love, and
I know. Well, I had this whole thing with the Ewoks. I was like, why are they doing teddy bears? I kind of, but
I just love that real life fan moment. Just saying. Okay, that was awesome.
I know. Yeah, I know. Ruben thinks I'm a total geek. We're watching Mandalorian. I'm like, oh, are they on Tatooine? And he goes, what? Well, it looks like Tatooine to me.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So many lessons there.
So many lessons, right? And this is the big lesson for all of us. So I'm just going to, I know we're at the top of the hour here. I want to respect your time, and everyone who's stayed with us, or if you're watching this on the replay, please, I highly encourage you to check out the book. show up confident for yourself. And it's not an entrepreneur book. It's an everyday person book. And that's what I
Yes.
really loved about it. And the fact you had just two awesome parents who just like filled you up with. So, I mean, I have to say, I was like, man, shit, it was like the,
Yeah.
you know, like the TV mom and dad. And maybe you left out all
Well,
the other stuff, but
no, they were pretty awesome. And again, always understanding the reason and the meaning. And the reason I wrote the book was an honor project. It really was to honor them. And legacy lives in those you change. They changed me, which
Mm,
allows me to change others. I've changed thousands because they've changed me.
yeah.
And it was my opportunity to honor that, to honor what they've taught me. And I had one client say, she's like, I feel like they're my parents. I'm like, they can be.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
can be. Yeah,
definitely.
because
Yeah.
it lives in those you change. So mommy and daddy, there you go.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to close out because that is paying it forward, and that's
Yes.
what this is all about too, is taking those people, experiences, skills, you know, examples, lessons, and paying it forward to others so that they can learn as well too and take them and make them their own, however they're going to do that. So I thank you so much for sharing everything that your parents gave you and what you continue to give to your clients. And yes, Michele is a coach, and if you go to the HUE and Style, you can find out about her coaching, as well as the book and all the other great things that she does for women and in her community at large. So thank you so much, Michele, for joining us. And thank you, Leanna, for hooking us up. Because if it weren't for her, I don't think I would have come by you. So
Right? So amazing. And thank you so much for having me, Tracey. Your platform's amazing to help just everyday people feel extraordinary. And I think that's so important because that's what affirms their meaningful outcome.
yeah.
So you're doing your part, which is amazing.
Yeah, and we're all here to inspire each other, encourage each other, and support each other in our journeys. So thank you for yours.
You're
All
welcome.
right. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your never before lived day and stay happy, healthy, positive. Cheers. Bye.